Alcohol is everywhere. It's at our celebrations, our dinners, our get-togethers, and for generations, we've been told that a little bit might even be good for us. But what if that whole story is based on a myth? Today, we are diving into the dramatic shift in science that is changing absolutely everything we thought we knew about alcohol and our health.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Cheers, salute, prost. Almost every single culture on Earth raises a glass and toasts to what? To health. It's this global ritual, this shared wish for a long and healthy life that we perform with a drink in our hands.
But that really brings up a pretty uncomfortable question, doesn't it? Is there a huge contradiction baked into this tradition? When we toast to our health with a substance that new evidence suggests is actually harmful, what are we really doing? For decades, the accepted wisdom was that, moderate drinking was probably good for you. This idea really blew up in the 1990s with the whole French paradox, the mystery of how the French had lower rates of heart disease despite eating all that rich, high-fat food. And the hero of that story? Red wine, of course. And look, this wasn't just some cultural vibe. It seemed like it was backed up by some serious science. There was this huge study back in 1997. It followed almost 500,000 people, and it found that folks who had about one drink a day had a much lower risk of death from heart disease than people who didn't drink at all. For years, this was the study everyone pointed to. Okay, but this is where the story takes a really sharp turn. In just the last few years, the scientific consensus has, it's completely flipped, revealing a much more concerning picture of what alcohol actually does to our bodies.
Let's just start with a really stark number from the CDC. 178,000 deaths every single year in the US linked to excessive alcohol use. What's even more alarming is that number is up 29% in just 4 years. This isn't some small issue, it's a major public health crisis, and it's getting worse.
And these deaths are coming from a whole range of chronic problems. We're talking way beyond the liver here. The risks include things like high blood pressure and heart failure, even links to dementia. It can slow down your body's ability to heal and can seriously suppress your immune system. And here is the fact that gets so often overlooked. Alcohol is a known carcinogen. That means it directly causes cancer. The U.S. Surgeon General has confirmed it's the third leading preventable cause of cancer, right up there with tobacco and obesity. That's a category most of us just don't associate with our evening glass of wine. And here's the real problem. Despite that clear scientific link, more than half of Americans have no idea. They're completely unaware that drinking alcohol increases their risk of cancer. This huge information gap is exactly why the Surgeon General is now pushing for new cancer warning labels on all alcoholic beverages. So I know what you might be thinking. Okay, wait a minute. What about all those studies that said a little alcohol was good for you? Were they all just wrong? Well, to answer that, we have to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden flaws in that older research. So, why did so many big, seemingly credible studies show this protective health effect for people who are light drinkers? Well, it turns out the researchers were missing a really key piece of the puzzle. The problem was a classic case of confusing correlation with causation. The old assumption was that the alcohol itself was some kind of magic ingredient. But when newer analyses dug deeper, they found that the light drinkers in those studies, they often had a lot of other things going for them. They tended to be wealthier, exercise more, eat healthier, and have better access to healthcare. Once researchers adjusted for all these other lifestyle factors, the supposed health benefit from alcohol, it completely disappeared. All right, so this brings us to the most stubborn health myth of them all, the one you still hear all the time. The idea that red wine is special, that it's some kind of health drink in disguise.
This is the argument, right? Sure, maybe other kinds of alcohol aren't great, but red wine is different. It's got antioxidants, specifically this one compound called resveratrol. The whole idea is that this little molecule, which is found in grape skins, is so powerful that it actually cancels out the negative effects of the alcohol.
But this whole myth just completely falls apart when you look at the actual dose. One glass of red wine has at most maybe 2 milligrams of resveratrol. The supplements they use in health studies, they start at 250 milligrams. That's not just a little difference, that is a gigantic difference in scale. Let's just put this as plainly as possible. To get the amount of resveratrol that might give you a measurable health benefit, you would have to drink over 100 glasses of wine. And I think we can all agree, at that point, the massive harm from all that alcohol would just overwhelmingly crush any tiny benefit from the antioxidant. So yeah, the red wine halo is officially gone. So now that we've kind of cleared away the myths, let's get practical. The whole point here isn't to tell anyone what to do, but to give you the latest, clearest information so you can make your own informed choice.
First things first, we need to be on the same page about what one drink even means, because when the guidelines talk about it, this is what they're referring to. It is not about the size of your glass, it's about the amount of pure alcohol inside it.
And here's what that half-ounce of pure alcohol looks like out in the real world. A normal 12-ounce can of beer, a pretty small 5-ounce glass of wine, or a single 1.5-ounce shot of liquor. You have to remember, that big, heavy pour glass of wine you get at a restaurant or a strong cocktail can easily count as 2 or maybe even 3 standard drinks.
So, what do the official guidelines actually say right now? Well, the current U.S. dietary guidelines recommend a limit of 2 standard drinks or less per day for men and 1 standard drink or less per day for women.
And this is a really critical point to understand. These guidelines are only for people who already drink. No major health organization on the planet recommends that non-drinkers should start drinking to get health benefits. The science just does not support that at all.
So, at the end of the day, for those who do choose to drink, the message from health professionals is pretty consistent. Just understand the risks. Drinking less is always better for your health than drinking more, and if you're regularly going over the guidelines, you're significantly increasing your risk for some really serious health problems. So, the science has changed. The old health myths we all grew up with have been pretty thoroughly debunked. The choice is actually clearer now than it's ever been. It's not about a good or bad amount of alcohol, it's really about a spectrum of risk, where any amount increases it. So the final question is just for you to think about. Knowing all this, is it time to rethink your drink?